Football
is America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass at the moment in time. I don't give a damn. Oh my God. You love this.
30-27. Chiefs win. Chiefs win 30-20.
I'm lost for words, Rick, because I am so excited for this football game.
This game's gonna be huge.
Pumped for this game. I'm almost. This is probably the second most pumped I could be this week. CJ Stroud's miraculous. He's incredible. He is having a historic season. He was an underdog at home against Cleveland, and he balled out. Yeah, I mean, this is a playoff game against arguably the top NFL defense, and the starters are not even playing in the fourth quarter.
I know.
It is insane. Or some would say inconceivable.
Inconceivable, Kyle.
So this game's going to be on Saturday at 1:30 p.m. ESPN or Channel 7. Ravens by 9.5 is where the line currently stands. Rick, I'm going to defer to you. Do the Houston Texans and CJ Stroud, do they have a chance to come into Baltimore and play a team that hasn't played football in 21 days and catch them off guard, for a lack of better words?
Do I think they have a chance? Do I think the Texans, rookie quarterback CJ Stroud, rookie head coach DeMeco Ryans, can they come into Baltimore and beat a Super Bowl winning coach and his front runner for MVP quarterback? I think they have a chance, Kyle. Now, can they do it is the question. And look, we're talking about what I feel like is always the same topic when it comes to the playoffs, when it comes to the divisional round, right? Ever since, well, not really ever since the wild card or whatever, but the first seed has gotten that week off, that first week off, the wild card week off. And what do we talk about? We talk rest versus rust. Lamar Jackson and the starters on both the offense and the defense have not played for 3 weeks. And it was something that you and I had talked about, I think, during the wild card week, whatever it was, or after week 18. So is that really an issue? Because it always seems to be a conversation. Since 1990, 18 teams ranked number one have lost in the divisional round. That was about 28% of all teams ranked number one from 1990 up until this past the 2022 playoff season.
It's crazy.
Now it's 18 teams, right? And you look over 4 years and you're like, okay, that's quite a bit, but only 28%. In the last 10 years, since 2010, it's occurred 8 times. So maybe like it does have something to do with that rest versus rust thing, right? Because the stats are kind of showing it. You are seeing more teams ranked number one in the last 14 or so years getting bumped in the divisional round. That's obviously that's almost half of the entirety teams of over the last 33 years. So it is significant, right? It is a significant stat. Now the Texans, right? Do they have a chance? They absolutely do, because look at what they were able to do to that Browns defense last week, man. They carved them up. They carved them the fuck up. CJ Stroud was able to do whatever he wanted to do to that defense and came away with a win. And it was a convincing win. Yes, they had Joe Flacco quarterback, but Joe Flacco had been playing really well, had been getting past interceptions, which he had a couple of last week against the Texans. He'd been getting past that and winning games. So, I had picked the Browns and I had said the same thing. I was like, I think Joe Flacco can throw interceptions, but still come away with the win because of his ability to do so, to take chances after interceptions, and because of the Browns defense. Both of those things did not come into play that week. So do the Texans have a shot? Absolutely they do. Are they going to have trouble against this Ravens defense? Absolutely they are. This Ravens defense, before that week 18, when they all rested their starters, they held the Dolphins to 19 points, the 49ers to 19 points, the Jaguars to 7 points. CJ Stroud will not be at home, which has been a huge difference, and especially last week against the Browns. Not being at home, or I'm sorry, being at home makes a big difference in terms of points and your crowd in it, unless you're the Cowboys, of course. Then it doesn't matter. But for CJ Stroud, a rookie quarterback, being at home last week against the Browns was everything because he got to shine in front of his Houston Texans fans, and he's making them proud. Now, Lamar Jackson, let's go over to the offense of the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, he's played 4 games in the postseason. Pretty bad numbers overall. 5 interceptions. I think 3 total touchdowns. But in 2019, right?
He 68.3 passer rating and only 900 yards passing.
Yep. Passer rating is not great. In 2019, when he did win the MVP, he had a pretty solid game. He didn't move on, obviously, but he had 365 yards to score, but he did have 2 interceptions in the same year he won MVP, which he is predicted to win this week. So what are we, is history going to repeat itself? Is he going to have a good game but win, or is he going to have a good game and lose? How's that going to go? Right. Same year as he's the front runner for MVP. But this year, there was something that was a topic of conversation in his past seasons with the Ravens. And it's like, this guy's doing it all on his own with his feet. He's injured last year, right? And we talked about him being injured and how they almost beat the Bengals in the playoffs. But this year's a little different. Zay Flowers, OBJ, Mark Andrews is probably making a return. He doesn't have to do all the running anymore because you've got a 3-headed monster of Gus Edwards, Mitchell, and Hill. Gus Edwards leads the team in touchdowns, I believe, rushing-wise, with like 13. He's double digits.
And Dalvin Cook.
And Dalvin Cook now. They did add Dalvin Cook. You're right. So this team, in terms of offense, is pretty stacked. Isaiah Likely as well is in there. So in terms of offensive weapons that Lamar Jackson can throw to, this team is pretty well stacked right now. And look, on the other side of the offense, the Texans also have just a plethora of young talent, both sides of the ball, offense and defense. Nico Collins, Damian Pierce, Will Anderson Jr., Singletary has been a huge weapon for them, and obviously you all bring it around to CJ Stroud and what he's been able to do. I just don't think that the Texans are going to be able to do it this week against the Ravens. They've had a ton of limited participation injuries during this week. So I think that's going to come back and bite them in the ass. So I don't think they're going to be able to win this week against the Ravens in Baltimore. Regardless, though, of the outcome, both of these teams I think are going to be good for a while. I've got the Ravens beating the Texans 30-27. Close game, high scoring game, but I've got the Ravens taking the dub at home. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
You guys aren't understanding. You guys refuse to pick up what I've been putting down since like week 7 about CJ Stroud. What does Patrick Mahomes comp mean? What does it mean when I say we haven't seen a quarterback come into the league and take it by storm? Like, not even Mahomes did it. Man, the disrespect CJ Stroud is getting. No, look, I totally get it. And the Ravens should be the favorite to win this game. They're at home. They're well rested. And they were the Lamar Jackson. If you have any doubt that he should be an MVP, you just haven't watched any Ravens games. He's clearly playing football at an extremely, extremely high level. Okay. Now, so is CJ Stroud. Okay. So that doesn't get you very much in my book when the other guy also is having a hell of a year. We kind of find ourselves back at square one. Yeah. So then I move on to the second stage where which quarterback do I trust more? Well, CJ Stroud, there was definitely a ginormous question mark on what we were going to get last week when he came into the game. That's gone. CJ Stroud doesn't, he doesn't care. Well, no, not that he doesn't care, but the moment's not too big for him. He definitely rises to the occasion. Yeah. And that almost feels like an understatement. Like what we saw last week was utter dominance against a very good team in Cleveland. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that they're just going to stroll in and everything's going to be fine. But what you said, and I I had the same thing pulled up about Lamar Jackson, the 62%, the 5 picks. Or how many picks was it? 5?
5. It was 5 in his 4 games. Yeah.
And how many touchdowns?
3.
3 touchdowns in 4 games. So less than 1 touchdown pass per playoff game.
Yeah.
Stroud would have threw 5 if he didn't get benched. He did that in 1 week.
Yeah.
I felt like the Texans weren't respected at home. They're definitely not going to get the respect on the road. 9 points? You're telling me the Ravens are 10-point favorites in this game?
That's kind of insane. That is kind of insane.
That is insane.
Yeah.
And I have no problem taking the Texans with the points there. Now, Houston is going to have a much different environment. Okay. This is going to be the Ravens flock, whatever they call themselves. This place is going to be insane. It is going to be insane.
Yep.
It's going to be one of the loudest environments that we're going to get throughout all of the playoffs. This is a great home field. Lamar Jackson, I'm not bringing up all those stats that he failed in the past to say he's not going to play a good game. I think we're seeing a better version of Lamar this year. I think he's getting better still, and that tends to happen. I think he's probably at his peak right now, and then he'll stay at this level maybe for 3 to 4 years. I mean, that's what separates the real Hall of Fame, like the GOATs. How long can he stay in this zone? But this game is going to be huge for his legacy, for the way the Ravens are going to be remembered. Oh yeah, he won MVP twice. Yeah, but we have 1 playoff win between both of those seasons. Not a good look.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Texans.
No.
I'm taking the Texans to get this win on the road. They're simply
fuck you.
They're just playing at such a high level right now. I understand Joe Flacco threw 2 pick sixes, but Lamar throws interceptions in playoff games. I don't think he'll throw 2, but I think that he'll throw 1. I think that the Texans defense was something that impressed me a lot last week. A lot. Their offense was great. Their defense was just a little bit under what the offense was. That was a team win. That was complete and utter domination. And you can, just to be clear, I was open about how I felt Joe Flacco was going to play in that game. So that is not why I think the Texans win this game. It's not because they dominated against the Browns. It's not, because I feel like there was probably a couple teams that could have done that. It's because of what happens to a locker room after a win like that. And that is the X factor in this whole thing, is that the Texans, when you win a game like that, when you're an underdog and you smoke them, you really do go into this game believing that you're the team to beat. They believe CJ. I mean, imagine that's your quarterback. You really worried about it? Are you really worried about if CJ is going to show up to this game? No, of course not. The Houston Texans have this you could call it momentum, magic, whatever you want to call it. But this is what the Bengals had when they made their Super Bowl push. This is what the Bengals had. This is that special. Yeah. And this Ravens team's very special and they're very good. But the thing is when you don't play for 3 weeks, you don't have that going into the game. It's more like, hey, y'all better fucking show up. You're the number 1 seed. That's a way different type of energy than the house money that the Texans are playing with right now.
Yep.
And Nico Collins has emerged as a number 1 receiver. And the Ravens, they spread the ball around. OBJ, not Nico Collins. He's not. Mark Andrews, that's huge. If he's coming back.
If he comes back,
snap count or not, but we'll see. That could become a factor, just like Sam Laporta was for the Lions last week, depending on how much he plays, if he plays. But the Texans are running the football really well too with Singletary, and they still have Dameon Pierce, who balled out last week. So I think that's going to be one of the keys to victory. And I even have here that protecting CJ Stroud is going to be huge.
Yep.
Why were the Texans able to rout Cleveland the way they did was because CJ Stroud wasn't under pressure in the football game, period. Myles Garrett was completely handled. They weren't able to get after him. And this is the other thing. It's not just that they're not able to get to the passer. This is not the greatest offensive line we've ever seen.
Yeah.
What it is CJ Stroud has tremendous pocket awareness, footwork, and instincts. And he is very, very good at sliding around while maintaining the whole picture of what's going on down the field, making great decisions. He doesn't even like to run. He doesn't like to. And most of the time, he can buy himself enough time where a corner just can't stick with him anymore. And that is just one part of what CJ Stroud's doing that's amazing out of, 10 different categories. I mean, he is literally hitting every single way a quarterback can be special. CJ Stroud is. That is something that even a guy like Lamar, who came into the league, won MVP, was immediately an amazing quarterback. Well, CJ Stroud might just be a little bit better. And that's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yep.
So I think this game really does come down to which quarterback's going to play better, because I don't think that the Ravens defense is going to be able to stop CJ Stroud. And I also don't think the Texans defense are going to be able to stop the Ravens offense. Who's going to get the ball last is probably going to be a really important part of this game. Who decides to receive? Ravens will probably defer and hope to get the ball before the first half ends and score and get the ball again. That would be a really, really bad thing for the Texans, because I do think this game is going to be very, very close. Every possession counts. You can't turn the football over. The Texans, they did really well last week. I don't even think they turned the ball over one time.
No.
Not that I can recall.
Nope.
No, nothing.
Not once.
So that's another thing. And at times, Lamar Jackson, dude, we were just watching him on Sunday Night Football, and you and I were like, how come sometimes we watch Lamar and it's like, what are you doing? There are those moments.
True.
The highlight reel's incredible.
Yeah.
But when you watch the movie, there are parts of it where you're like, what is he doing? What is he doing out there?
Yeah.
Like, CJ Stroud doesn't have those moments. He doesn't.
Yeah. And if he has, they've been few and far in between.
Yeah. There's not even that one game where he threw 2 picks and they asked him about it. And he was like, I'm going to keep shooting. Steph Curry, don't stop. He still threw multiple touchdown passes, and his team had like 30 some points in that game. Like, it's not like he threw a couple picks and they scored 7. You can throw a couple picks if you're going to throw, 5 touchdown passes. You get a pass if you do that. And CJ Stroud, to me, is he's going to gain a lot of respect after this game. And I'm talking about endorsements, the cover of Madden, one of the faces of the NFL, primetime football game. All of this stuff is going to happen because the Texans are going to go into Maryland and they're going to beat Baltimore in their own house. And Baltimore is number 1 on everyone's power ranking. Everybody.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for the Texans, who even after that blowout against the Browns find themselves on the NFL's power rankings at number 7? It means the Texans are a lot better than anybody had any idea, unless you're really tracking this. And the world will be shocked, and the Texans will emerge as the team to beat. Because if you can beat the team that's the team to beat, well, you're going to be in the AFC Championship game, and a lot of people are going to be back in this Texans team to take it all the way to the big game.
Woo! Kyle already. Game 1 Saturday, and we're already like, me and Kyle are just at odds already, and it's awesome. Look, I completely understand everything you said, and really, yeah, man, the line, a couple things you said, the offensive line for CJ Stroud has to be perfect, right? Like, they have to be just as good as they were against Myles Garrett in that Browns defense last week. Now you got a guy on the Ravens side defense, Justin Madubuike. I believe I'm saying that right. 13 sacks on the season. and it seems to be unstoppable. So if they want to do what they did to the Browns on defense last week, they got to stop him and Kyle Van Noy, a couple other guys on there, Jadeveon Clowney too. Like he's been a surprise. So they do have to stop them. I agree. And the other thing you said is like, it's going to come down to the last quarterback, maybe even how much better is CJ Stroud or Lamar Jackson. Those two things I think are going to be probably the reasons these teams win or lose for sure.
Definitely. In Baltimore, they have a super athletic and versatile offense, and and no one's cruising past that. But under DeMeco Ryans, right? I've spent a lot of time on this podcast this last year talking about how defensive coaches aren't the move. Look at all the ones getting fired. They can't develop a quarterback. Well, this is a total exception because DeMeco Ryans is a defensive coach and he's a rookie head coach. So it's like these things are just already not supposed to be happening. So it's hard to set a limit when the rules are off on this. The rules are off, and Houston's defense continues to be totally underrated, in my opinion. Stingley Jr., when everybody said, oh, the Texans, they screwed up. Why would they draft him and not Sauce Gardner? And
good idea.
It looks good now. It looks that pick looks really solid.
Is Sauce Gardner in the playoffs? I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
And in a lot of ways, Stingley had, in my opinion, a better season. He's been amazing. And if this Texans team is going to be able to get after Lamar, and they have speed too. So I think they'll be able to contain him as a running threat in this game. And it's Lamar. He's going to get 60 probably, but you just can't let him take one for 60. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, this Texans defense, man, they're filthy, and they're going to come out. And if this game gets off to a start where the Texans defense, let's say the Ravens start and the Texans defense gets a 3-and-out, and then CJ Stroud scores, and then the Ravens get the ball again and they pick up like one first down and have to punt it again, that might already be an insurmountable distance, right? But that puts a ton of pressure on the Ravens. Is that going to change the way Harbaugh calls the plays? Are they going to is Lamar Jackson going to stay poised? Because in a lot of ways, I do like who are the Ravens? Who's that wide receiver that you're scared of? Like
Mark Andrews, but Crafty made a good point. Like you bring in a Mark Andrews who's been injured for a majority of the season, you throw him in the lineup, and is that hurting or is that helping? You know, because he might not be 100%, but we were able to see Laporta for the Lions last week come in after, a week of being injured and score a touchdown. So I get the question. I get the point. Can Mark Andrews be that guy, or is he going to hurt the team just in general? But also Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is that guy, I think, right now. And there has been some games where you and I have been watching and we're like, where the fuck is Zay Flowers at? You know what I mean? So
he had one catch, like
exactly, and it's his first postseason game ever. Now, obviously, he's got some experienced guys with him. OBJ won a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson has been in the playoffs. Harbaugh's won a Super Bowl. So he's got some guys there that are veterans that can help him out. But which Zay Flowers are we going to get? I'm not saying that he is like that a lot, but there are games where you're just like, where the hell is this phenomenal rookie that is supposed to be his number one? Let's see which one we get with Zay Flowers on Saturday.
And sometimes it does seem that he's open and Lamar's just not passing him the football.
Yeah, that's
a lot of time that has to do with the pressure that he's under. But the only reason I asked the question in the first place was because that's where Stingley is going to be lined up. Like that's where Stingley's going to be. So now it's up to the other weapons to beat you. Yep. And he's a good receiver, and this is kind of like this is the reason he's on the team is for these next 4 games. That's it.
Yep.
Or the next 3 games, hopefully, if you're a Ravens fan. That is why he's on the team. We'll see if he can just turn the switch on and have a crazy. Let's see if he LeBron playoffs this whole thing. Just like, oh, okay, now I can drive to the hole every single time, and no one can stop me. 3. This is. This is going to be a close game. I'm surprised by the 10-point spread, but I'm going Texans. You got Ravens, and everywhere I've actually looked, everyone's taken Ravens, and some of the predictions that I'm seeing are Ravens 27-20, Ravens 28, Texans 24, Ravens 30, Texans 23.
Mm-hmm.
Not very creative. Everybody's like, yeah, Ravens win, but it's going to be kind of close, and I don't blame them. I'm saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. But if the Texans come out and get to a fast start, don't be surprised if the spread is covered in the opposite way, where the Texans win by 10.
No way. Ravens all the way, baby. Ravens all the fucking way.